Hi everyone, welcome back to the US CPA classes for financial accounting and reporting. In this video, we'll be discussing in detail about accounting changes and error, right? That is accounting standard codification 250. So I'll be walking you through in detail about change in accounting principle, change in accounting estimate, or change in reporting entity. So let's dive into to understand more in detail about accounting standard codification 250, that is accounting changes and error as per US GAAP. Hi everyone, welcome to the FAR class. So in today's session, we'll be starting with a new topic, which is ASC 250, accounting changes and error. So when you discuss, is it visible to everyone? Ayush?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
today we'll be covering two topics, accounting changes and error, and then after we'll be discussing about business combination. That's the plan for today uh, class. So first one is the accounting changes and error, ASC 215. So there are two topics. One is accounting changes and the second one is error correction. So accounting changes can be on account of change in accounting principle. That means if there is change in accounting standard, like we have seen conversion from ASC 605 to ASC 606, ASC 840 to ASC 842, right? Same way ASC 320 to ASC 326. Those all comes under the change in accounting principle on account of change in accounting standard. And second thing could be possible, like you have changed the accounting principle for better presentation. So earlier you are already using some acceptable accounting principle, but now you have changed to another acceptable accounting principle. Right? For example, earlier you might be using straight line method of depreciation, but now considering the more relevance of the fixed assets or property, plant and equipment, you chosen the written down value method or double digit depreciation method or any other acceptable method. Same way for the inventory, you might be using earlier like FIFO method, but considering the change in dynamic, you feel weighted average inventory method or moving average inventory method is more relevant for my business. So changing from one acceptable accounting principle to another acceptable accounting principle would come under the change in accounting principle. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Second is change in accounting estimate. So change in accounting estimate basically at the year end or at the month end or at the quarter end or at the period end, there are so many items of which you may not have the bills, of which you may not have concrete amount, but you estimate the amount and book the provisions, right? For example, like warranty, you do not know how much actual expense you are end up incurring in the warranty, but based on historical trend and based on the current information available to you, you make certain provision for the warranty, right? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Same way, at the year end or period end, you book some time like provision for doubtful debt. Right? Even though no debtor has confirmed you that he or she is not paying you, but based on the past experiences, you book certain amount as a provision for doubtful debt and reduce the amount receivable. Same way, like estimation may be like the life of asset. For example, if you have purchased an automobile, at the time of purchase, you might have thought like this automobile life may be 15 years. But after 2 years, the law came and it says all the petrol diesel vehicle has to be stopped and should not be used for more than 10 years. Right? In that case of scenario, you need to change the estimate from 15 year of life to 10 year of the life, and accordingly your depreciation expense will change. Yes, no?
सर एक बार रिपीट करना है ये वाला दोबारा.
For example, you purchased a car, a diesel car, and earlier the diesel car life is 15 years. So you thought of depreciating that in over the period of 15 years. Let's assume you purchase a car for $150,000, and the life you have estimated initially is 15 years. So every year you are depreciating $10,000. It's a straight line basis of depreciation, right? Now after 2 years, the new law came in the picture and says like diesel car life should be restricted to 10 years. That means you cannot use the diesel car after 10 years. So in that case of scenario, you have remaining 8-year life, and you have $130,000 in your book value of the asset. So this $130,000 will be dividing or amortizing over the period of remaining 8 years rather than 13 years. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So that is called change in accounting estimate. These are like few examples I'm sharing. We'll be discussing more in detail one by one, but I'm just sharing high level examples with you. Second is change in reporting entity. So for example, you have a company X. So company X has acquired company Y. Now company X needs to do a consolidation of financial statement, and company Y may have different accounting policy and company X do have different accounting policy. Then how company X will do the consolidation? Any idea? Rahul, Gurmehar,
So X
Ayush.
acquires Y.
Mm-hmm.
So X के according I guess adoption होगा.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if X is applying, for example, particular standard, the Y has to, the changes has to be done accordingly for the Y entity because X acquired Y. That is my assumption. I'm not very sure.
तो क्योंकि X जब एक्वायर कर रहा है Y को, तो उस टाइम पे जैसे ऑन डेट तो उसने अपने एसेट से एक बार रिकॉर्ड कर लिए Y के, उसके बाद ही विल अप्लाई मतलब दिस company will apply its own accounting policies on whatever assets have been acquired. It will not change for Y.
Yeah. So partially right and partially wrong. When any company do acquire any other company, so then at that point of time they request or they advise the other company to change their accounting policy in line with the parent company policy, so that the consolidation would be smooth. There would not be much adjustment, right? Yes.
Yes, so.
Okay, sir.
Right. For example, X company, parent and subsidiary. So X company has acquired Y company. Let's assume on 1/1/21. At that point of time, Y company was using LIFO method for inventory, and they are using FIFO method of inventory. So they will ask to change to FIFO, so that in consolidated financial statement it will come as FIFO. Make
So
sense?
they'll ask them or they have to do that.
सर वो ऑटोमेटिकली हो जाएगा ना जैसे ही वो ट्रांसफर होगा.
No, it's never be automatically. So they have to ask them, and then there may be possibility like subsidiary management may refuse. So it cannot be mandate. It cannot be dictate. So there might be some practical reason that LIFO might be more suitable for them. So if they both are using different accounting policy, then they need to disclose that subsidiary is using different accounting policy and the rationale and reason for choosing different accounting policy.
So उस केस में standalone subsidiary की balance sheet is fine, but when it comes to consolidation for a parent company, Like I used to audit Avanos, that has more than 60 entities. और Avanos इनकॉर्पोरेशन की खुद की भी एक बैलेंस शीट होती है और जो सब्सिडरीज की होती है. तो जब कंसोलिडेशन के इन्वेंट्री का बैलेंस होगा तो वो कैसे, उसको क्या मतलब मेंशन करेंगे, ब्रेक डाउन करेंगे या कैसे करेंगे?
For example, let's say X company is into the garment business. So let's assume X company is into the garment business, and in garment industry they use FIFO method of inventory valuation. But they acquired a Y company which is into liquor manufacturing. Right? There, general industry do follow LIFO method. Right? So there might be a possibility. So in that case of scenario, they will be giving the disclosure in the total inventory. They are using FIFO method, but this much amount of inventory is being valued based on LIFO because of the industry requirement.
बट सर उस केस में तो उनकी सब्सिडरी की बैलेंस शीट तो अलग बनेगी बाद
But
में
you will do the consolidation.
हाँ, लेकिन वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि जब उसकी सब्सिडी की बैलेंस फाइनेंशियल्स अलग बन रहे हैं उसमें तो ठीक है, दिखेगा ही कि उसकी इन्वेंटरी लाइफो पे है बिकॉज इट्स टोटली इनटू अ डिफरेंट बिजनेस लिकर के. बट जब कंसोलिडेशन हो जाएगा तब आप कह रहे हो कि स्पेसिफिकली डिस्क्लोज करना पड़ेगा नीचे कि हाँ इस एक्स एक्स कंपनी जो है सब्सिडरी है उसकी ये इन्वेंटरी पॉलिसी है कि वो लाइफो के ऊपर है.
Yes, and that contain to this much amount included in the inventory balance of consolidated financial statement.
ओके ठीक है.
Right, Gurmehar, Rahul.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
So
Yes, sir.
they can request them, but they cannot dictate them. It depends on industry to industry. Right.
Okay.
बट सर अल्टीमेटली अगर सब्सिडरी बन रही है तो ओनरशिप तो होल्डिंग के पास चली गई है.
So
मैनेजमेंट
no,
तो
it depends. Like ownership has been transferred, that is okay, but you cannot change the principle of industry.
अच्छा ओके.
Right. For example, if you are into let's say urea manufacturing company, right? And now you have purchased some phosphorus mines. So mining accounting policies for property, plant and equipment would be different than the accounting policy which you are using for general company, right? In your manufacturing company, you might be using straight line method of depreciation or WDV depreciation. But in mining, it will be like depletion.
Okay.
Right? So you need to classify separately, like in total property, plant and equipment, this much amount is relating to this particular business, and in that we are using depletion method of accounting. And the impact of the depletion for the current year is this much. So maybe I'm not sure if you go back and look at I think I've shared a couple of financial statements with you.
Yes.
So for any, maybe I'm not sure you've gone through them or not. So here also you'll see like some of such instances. So like this company have automotive business as well as finance business. So for automotive business, the accounting policies are separate, and for finance business, accounting policy is separate. And then when you go down to the revenue schedule, you will see separately disclosed. See here, GMNA, General Motors North America, General Motor International, Corporate, Total Automotive Business, Cruise and GM Financial has been disclosed separately.
Okay.
Right. So this is like revenue schedule. So in total income statement, the revenue would be coming $122,485 million. But in the disclosure, you have like separately disclosed GM Financial, separately disclosed automotive business, cruise business, and reclassifications. Make sense?
Yes.
So that is change in reporting entity. If there is change in reporting entity, on account of that, if there is any change, then how you need to deal with those changes, that we'll be discussing in 4.1.3. The last one is error. Error are intentional or unintentional?
Unintentional.
Unintentional mistakes, right? And that may not result into change in accounting policy. So we'll be discussing how to deal with the error. So let's go one by one. First, let's understand change in accounting principle. So change in accounting principle may include adoption of generally accepted accounting principle different from one previously used for the reporting purpose for better presentation and disclosure. When you are changing from one accounting principle to another accounting principle, you have to give the rationale why you are choosing so. And the rationale should be for the better presentation of disclosure or adoption of new accounting standard, or the principle include the method applying the principle. So these three conditions, any of these three conditions must be met. Generally, it may be on account of new accounting standard or it may be on account of better presentation and disclosure. For example, like we discussed earlier, change in the method of inventory from LIFO to FIFO or FIFO to LIFO, or adoption of new accounting standard ASC 606 from 605, 842 from 840, or 326 from 320. So in that case is being considered as change in accounting principle. And when there is a change in accounting principle, how you need to account for. So accounting would be used by retrospective approach. What is retrospective approach? Any idea?
Yes,
Any
sir.
idea what is retrospective approach?
From starting, we apply that policy whenever the changes, like if policy is being implemented from 1st of July, which is retrospectively from this. So it will not be the policy, the effects will not be taken from 1st July onwards. Rather, it will be taken from 1st April onwards itself.
Means basically from when that transaction has started, be it
Correct.
previous 5 years also, those would
For like in case of
तो
depreciation,
सौंफ वाला पानी कर दे.
like in case of depreciation, if you gave an example that the life of the asset, it was earlier estimated to be 15 years. After that, it was estimated to be 10 years. So we might have been charging depreciation on SLM basis. Okay. But now, when there has been a change either in the method of depreciation or the life of the asset, the depreciation amount which had to be done due to a particular method, the effect of that will be taken in that particular month or year itself in which this change is being made.
Absolutely wrong example.
क्यों?
That is change in estimate, not accounting policy.
Change मैं prospectively और retrospectively के उससे point of view से
No, there is a difference. When there is a change in accounting estimate, it is always prospective. When there is change in accounting policy, it may have retrospective income.
Okay. मैंने example के perspective से समझा दिया. मैंने वो नहीं सोचा कि मैंने कहा वो accounting estimate है तो वो prospectively ही होता है. मैंने उस angle सोचा ही नहीं. Okay.
Yeah, so what is retrospective? Retrospective mean like considering the impact from the beginning, right? For example, if you have started a company, let's assume in 2018, let's assume 2015, and in 2018, this new accounting standard ASC 606 came, and which you have to consider the impact in 2019. So when you are making 2019 financial statement, for the current year, you will consider everything under the ASC 606, but at the same time, you will consider that since 2015, all the accounting rules which is being defined in ASC 606 is being applicable. So what could have been the impact in the 2015, 16, 17 or 18 financial? So all those impact, whether it's positive or negative, will be adjusting in the opening retained earning. So that when you do make the financial statement, it's always be a comparative financial statement. That means accounting policy which is being applicable and reflected in 2019 financial statement would be same way reflecting 2018 financial statement, so that financial statements are comparable, and all the impact of the earlier years would be considered in the opening retained earning of 2018. That is called retrospective approach. That means the impact is from the day one. Make sense?
Sir, I have a question there. रिटेन अर्निंग वाला पॉइंट तो समझ आ गया, which is fine. इसमें हम जो बात कर रहे हैं, we are solely talking about the income statement line items, right?
No, it can be on balance sheet. For example, inventory. Earlier, you are using, let's say, FIFO method, but now you have changed to weighted average method. Right? So in that case of scenario, it will give impact on opening retained earning as well as inventory value.
इन्वेंट्री वैल्यू के इम्पैक्ट समझ आ गया कि हाँ, अगर इन्वेंट्री फॉर एग्जांपल अभी हमारी 100,000 की इन्वेंट्री है फॉर एग्जांपल, और फाइफो अगर हम पिछले 3 साल पहले से जब कंपनी शुरू हुई तब से अगर हम फाइफो करते तो वो इन्वेंट्री 200,000 की होनी चाहिए थी, बट हमारे अभी हम लाइफो कर रहे थे, इस साल हमने भी डिसाइडेड दैट वी शुड यूज फाइफो. सो उसमें हम इन्वेंट्री का वैल्यू कर देंगे 2 लाख, मतलब 200,000 कर देंगे, एंड रिटेन अर्निंग पे क्या इम्पैक्ट, कितना इम्पैक्ट जाएगा?
Let's assume you have opening inventory under LIFO $100,000, and you have purchased, let's say, $1 million, and you have sale, let's say, 102. And you closing inventory $80,000. Well, let's assume this is what currently you have. Now you have changed to FIFO, right? How do you change to FIFO? You will see like records from the beginning of inventory, and then you will apply that everything was using FIFO method. All the sales, purchase, and movement, whatever it would have happened. So that is on account of FIFO, right? And then you come to the conclusion, if you are using FIFO, then your inventory balance is $120,000. And your purchase is same, but your sale will go different. When you are using FIFO, that is first in, first out. That means let's assume it's an inflation market. So instead of $120,000, let's assume you have sold for $990,000. Are you getting my point? Let's assume it's an inflation market. What is inflation market? That means year over year, price are increasing, right? So your current inventory which you have purchased recently is expensive than the inventory which you have purchased in the earlier year, right? What is LIFO? Last in, first out. That means when you are using LIFO method of inventory, you are excluding, you are selling more expensive item first. Are you getting my point, Gurmeer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? So when you are using LIFO method, that means the opening inventory which you have purchased at less price was still lying in your books, whereas the expensive inventory which you are purchasing currently is releasing, because that is last in, first out. So hence your opening balance of inventory might be less than compared to FIFO. Agree? Agree to it or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ashish, Rahul, same page?
Yes, sir.
Now purchases are purchases. That's our actual amount. So there is no change. Whatever you have purchased as per LIFO, the same will go to the FIFO. And now coming to the current year sale. Current year sales mean cost of goods sold. Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So cost of goods sold, if you are using FIFO method, that means you are removing the less price inventory first, which you have purchased earlier. In the FIFO is first in, first out. Right? In the first in, you have purchased at less price, hence your cost of goods sold would be less. Right? Ayush, Kashish,
Yes, sir.
Rahul,
Yes, sir.
Gurmeer? So hence, let's assume that is $990,000. Right? So your closing inventory as per FIFO would be $130,000. Agree so far?
Yes.
Yes.
Now this difference of this minus this will impact your opening inventory as well as your opening retained earning. So this $20,000 adjustment entry will be making in the opening inventory and opening retained balance. That means your inventory has increased. Inventory account debit 20,000. And what will be the credit?
Return earnings. Yes.
How much? 20,000. Right, Gurmeer? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
This way it will go.
सर ये आपने पहले भी बताया था सारा।
हम्म
ये
ये
बच्चों
गुरमेर
पढ़ते
गुरमेर
नहीं है
भूल
ना
गए।
हमेशा।
हाँ,
बच्चे पढ़ते नहीं है ना सर, ये
अरे
तभी
सर इसको
होता है।
अलग ले लिया करो क्लास में, हम समझ आता है हमें।
यार अगर मैं ये ना स्क्रीन अगर अभी हटवा दूं ना और वो पूरा
हाँ
पूछवा लूं
एग्जैक्टली, आई सेकंड गुरु
फिर
बैठ के
तुम
ना
भी नहीं बता पाओगे। बस ये हवा में बातें चल रही है इस टाइम।
Then you will say like
इतनी देर से
accounting
सब चुप थे,
estimate.
पूरा सीख रहे थे, और जब दिख गया ना सामने ये एंट्री है ये सब कुछ है, अब बता रहे हैं। ये तो बता चुके सर।
Before that he was saying accounting estimate and accounting principle are
हाँ
same.
वो मेरा था, वो तो
आई
आयुष मैंने
Fully
बोला था वो तो
explained.
वैसे।
ये
Yes.
आकाश हूँ सर, मैं मेरे को आता है सब।
हाँ ये कह रहा है मेरे को भी आती है ये entry में। ठीक है।
He has fully explained the illustration, but lastly I said, sorry, absolutely wrong.
नहीं नहीं, वो सर क्या हुआ, वो एक्सप्लेनेशन मैं दे रहा था, मैं गलत कर रहा था, ये तो साथ बैठ के सुन रहा था। अब ये आकर्ष बोल रहा है कि नहीं यार ये तो मेरे को सब आता था, ये तुम क्यों पढ़ रहे हो। तो सर आप सुन रहा है बैठ के साथ में ना।
ये हम गुरमेहर को पढ़ा रहे हैं सब मिलके। कनाडा तक जा रही है
सही
आवाज।
बात है, मतलब मेरा नाम बिल फाड़ दिया सारा, सीख सब रहे थे।
क्या करें हम, तू कुछ चॉकलेट तो लेके नहीं आ रहे कनाडा से। हम बिल ही फाड़े जा रहे हैं।
नेक्स्ट ईयर आएंगे सर आपके लिए ड्यूटी फ्री से कुछ और ले आएंगे, चॉकलेट छोड़ो आप।
नहीं वो तो बहाना था, बस याद दिलाना था।
हाँ ठीक है ठीक है।
क्यों आयुष?
सही, आई एग्री।
आई को
सबका ध्यान रखना भाई।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
नहीं नहीं, हम ऑफिस में साथ मिलके पार्टी कर लेंगे। कोई
हाँ
बात
बिल्कुल
नहीं, एक ही बारी में सबका हो जाएगा, चिंता मत कर।
ठीक है ठीक है।
सो आयुष, इस फ्राइडे हम लोग पार्टी प्लान कर रहे हैं, चलोगे?
कहाँ जा रहे हो सर बताओ।
द लाउंज।
चलते हैं सर, कौन कौन जा रहा है।
सीपी है, ऑफिस के सब बच्चे हैं।
चलो सर मैं भी चलता हूँ, कोई नहीं।
आकाश को तो नहीं लेके जाना ना?
आकाश, आकाश को पार्टी में लेके जाएंगे तो कहेगा ये सब क्या है, ये सब तो छोटी
ये
पार्टी
सब
है।
तो मुझे पता नहीं है।
ये सब छोटी मोटी पार्टियों में मैं जाता ही नहीं, मैं सीधा
ये
साथ बड़ी पार्टियों में जाता हूँ।
ये सब तो मुझे पता है, बड़ी पार्टी में तो आया नहीं, 3 दिन बुलाया हमने तो।
सर वो ना तो बहुत थके हुए थे सर, कुछ चल रहा था।
स्टैंडर्ड रिप्लाई है उसका,
हाँ क्या क्या?
स्टैंडर्ड रिप्लाई है, थका हुआ था मैं,
हम्म
कुछ नहीं कर सकता था।
yes yes, चलो let's come back. So retrospective approach is clear,
यस
Yes,
सर।
sir.
right? So consider the impact on opening retained earning and restate the prior year financial statement as if the accounting policy were applied from the opening date. So previous year, if you have the numbers, so that also you need to restate, and this impact will go to the very opening retained earning. That means which is the first financial statement you are reflecting. If you see here in the income statement, how many years we reflect? In the income statement, how many years we reflect?
3 years.
3 years.
Years, or for balance sheet,
2
2
2
years.
years.
2 years.
right? Consolidated statement of cash flow, you see 3 year. Same way here, the balance sheet is of 2 year. So in the balance sheet, you will see the retained earning. So this is note number 20. So this is your note number 20. Here you will see 2000. Yeah. So adoption of new accounting standard. So can you also see this? Adoption of new accounting standard impact. Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So here
Yes,
you
sir.
see like retained earning, and the impact is on opening retained earning of $660 million. That's how you need to reflect in the financial statement. No impact on income statement. Exception to the general rule, retrospective approach will not be considered when it is impracticable to do so. So there may be possibility that you have changed the accounting policy, but retrospective implication of the same might not be practically possible. For example, like if you remember in last couple of classes we discussed, if you have inventory in a country like this Ukraine, and there is any war going on, then in that case of scenario, it is practically not possible for you to do the change in the consider the impact of change in accounting policy on the inventory valuation, right? Same way, there may be practical challenges that for example, you have done an acquisition of any new company and you are changing the accounting policy of that company, but before acquisition you may not have proper documentation. So there may be a practical challenges. So in that case of scenario, the retrospective approach will not be considered when it is impracticable to do so. Not having a sufficient data or information, limitation by law or order, or maybe war zone or something like that. Next is change from one acceptable accounting principle to another acceptable accounting principle, not from non-acceptable accounting principle to acceptable accounting principle. When earlier, for example, you are using cash basis of accounting, and now in this year you change from cash basis to accrual basis of accounting. So would that be considered as change in accounting policy? Are you getting my point?
Yes, like
Earlier you are using cash basis of accounting, but now from the current year you started using accrual basis of accounting. Would it be considered as change in accounting policy?
yes, because both are acceptable.
दोबारा चेंज
How about others? Ayush, Gurmehar.
दोबारा बोलना, कुछ चेंज करके बोला या पहली वाली बात ही
What
बोली?
I am saying, the company is using cash basis of accounting, in earlier year. Now in current year, they have changed the accounting policy to accrual basis of accounting.
This is not change in
Not
accounting.
change in policy.
This is
Why?
सर ये नॉन एक्सेप्टेबल टू एक्सेप्टेबल पे मूव कर रहा है.
already.
Yes.
हाँ मतलब कैश अकाउंटिंग इज नॉट अलाउड राइट तो
Yes. Yes.
accrual
For
accounting
the
का concept है ना अभी तो
yes, for the companies, cash accounting is not an acceptable method. For individual, only for tax purposes, cash accounting can be done, but for books purpose and for the companies, cash accounting is a non-acceptable accounting. Right, Rahul?
Yes, sir.
So then it will not consider as change in accounting policy. Rather, you are doing wrong thing. Now you are correcting everything. Right? So this is all about change in accounting principle. Any doubt before we jump on to the second topic? So far so good about
Yes.
change in accounting principle.
Yes, yes.
So now we are jumping on to the second topic, which is called change in accounting estimate. So change in accounting estimate, the wonderful example which Ayush has given. What was that?
Estimate.
WDV
Yeah. So changing from
accounting.
changing from estimate of written down value of depreciation to straight line method of depreciation, right? Or maybe earlier you are making a provision for warranty. Let's assume like 1% of the sales you are considering as a warranty provision, but historically you have seen you are coming very less warranty, so you have changed it to 0.5%, right? So that has significantly reduced your warranty provision, but this will be considered as change in accounting estimate. So your estimation earlier was 1% of the revenue, but now it's 0.5% of revenue based on the historical trend. Same way, earlier you might be considering 2% of the closing account receivable balance as provision for doubtful debt. But you see, like actual doubtful debt or actual loss in collection you are incurring is, let's say, 3%. So then you change the provision from 2% to 3%. So this change in provision is considered as change in accounting. Change in accounting
Estimates.
estimate, right? Same way, like the example which Ayush was sharing earlier, that you have purchased a car, a diesel car, and that has life of 15 years. But after 2 years, the new law has came and it's saying the diesel car will be acceptable in the market only for 10 years, right? So after 2 years, the life you have to short it down. Instead of 13 years, it has to come down to 8 years. And accordingly, the depreciation expense will change. So all the change in accounting estimate do have impact retrospectively or prospectively? Prospectively. What is prospective impact?
From the day the change happens, going forward from that day, all the change would be taken into consideration.
Yes. So prospective mean on the day of change in estimate and the going forward, right? Not be from the previous period, not for the previous period. So there's no change, no impact on opening retained earning. It always impact on current year income statement, right? It does not impact ever the opening opening retained earning. It always impact in the current year income statement. So let's understand more in detail what we have written in the notes. Preparation of financial statement require estimation, right? So estimation may be on account of any litigation matter, maybe on account of provision for doubtful debt, maybe on account of warranty, maybe on account of leave encashment, maybe on account of you can say sales incentive, right? So there are many you can say financial statement line item in which company do the estimation. So those estimations come under the change in accounting estimate because they get changed because of change in the circumstances. So there may be a possibility like previous year, there was some company who has legally sued your company. Let's say any vendor has sued your company for non-fulfillment or non-timely payment, right? In that case of scenario, earlier in the last year financial statement, you are estimating there would not be any expense which you actually end up incurring. But in current year, the case has gone into multiple serious hearing and you have incurred some lawyer fees, right? And now your lawyer is suggesting that you may end up paying, let's say, $10,000 to that vendor for whatever the non-payment charges or interest or any penalty expenses. So now the situation has changed. As the situation has changed, you might be creating certain provision. One is the $10,000 which you are expected to pay plus some legal fees of, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000. Right? So this is called a change in accounting estimate. Previous year you are estimating you may end up paying nothing, but in current year the situation has changed and it is expected that in future you might be end up paying $10,000 to that particular party and $2,000 might be the legal expenses. So accordingly $12,000 of provision is required. Right? The future event and their effect cannot be determined in advance with certainty. Accounting estimate change as new event occur, as more experience is required, or as additional information become available. So like we discussed couple of example, life of assets, provision for doubtful debt, provision for obsolete inventory, warranty provision, amortization method. So these are certain example which is change in accounting estimate, which are the example of change in accounting estimate. And they always have prospective impact. They never have retrospective impact. Hence, the impact will go into the current year income statement and the balance sheet. It will never impact opening retained earnings. Impact of change in accounting estimate is considered prospective. Right? Any doubt on change in accounting estimate? Kashish?
सर इसमें ये था कि फॉर एग्जांपल आपने जो डेप्रिसिएशन वाला सर एग्जांपल लिया था 2 years हमने ऑलरेडी यूज कर लिया, अब 13 से 8 पे आ गया, राइट? तो सर वो जो इफेक्टिव डेट से हम जो कह रहे हैं कि हाँ हमारा जो प्रोस्पेक्टिव अप्रोच है, तो सर वो तो फिर जो पहले जो यूज करे थे उनके लिए तो सर ये लॉस ही हुआ ना सर ये?
No. Like for example, you have a car.
तो सर एक प्रॉपर एक वो नहीं होना चाहिए रूल टाइप की, हाँ इस डेट के बाद से जिन्होंने मतलब परचेज करी है उनके लिए नहीं है, बट आफ्टर दैट पोस्ट दैट इट विल बी?
You cannot enforce government to make rule according to your requirement, so they will come up based on their own policy. So I've just shared like one piece of it. Let's assume on 1st January 2020 you purchase a car of $150,000, right? And you have estimated life, you estimated 15 years, right? And your depreciation, you estimated this divided by this, right?
Yes sir.
Now this is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. So at the end of year. So in year 1, you have this minus 10,000. That's your balance, right?
Yes sir.
And here also you have $10,000 depreciation. And now at year end 2, you have $130,000. Now here the life has changed. What is remaining life?
13.
What is
10 years. 10 किया
No,
13
no,
किया था
8 years, no?
8 years हो
Meaning life is 8 years. So here, this 130,000 divided by 8 years. So this much will be your annual depreciation. So in year 3, your book value will be $113,000, $113,750, and your depreciation would be $16,250.
हाँ सर, ये तो सर समझ आ ही गया था पहले, बट मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि सर वैसे होना नहीं चाहिए, मतलब कि जो
What?
प्रीवियसली जो 2 इयर्स पहले नहीं है, मतलब आज की डेट से जो परचेज करेगा उस पर रूल होना चाहिए ना, रादर देन जो 2 इयर्स पहले जिन्होंने परचेज करा।
That's what I'm saying. You have no control on the government. Government will make their own rules, right? In like day before yesterday, you might have seen the news. Like 2,000 rupees are getting
यस यस
ban again. You cannot say like you should not do like this. You have no control on them. They have their own way or their own policies. Right.
यस सर
Same way, like if you see like diesel car, they have banned it for the 10 year. They have not said like the person who is purchasing from now onward can use for 10 year. So they, if you see like in last year, all the BMW or Mercedes or different class of, you can say, cars were like available in 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakh rupees. Even almost unused car, because the diesel car is being banned for, like after 10 years you cannot use it. If you go to the like old car showroom now, you'll see like a lot of good cars like BMW, Audi, and all this are being available on sale at very
यस
less
सर
price. So you
यस सर
cannot, and you have no influence on the government unless until you are in corporate, right?
यस सर
Rahul, Gurmehar,
else you can sit at do some dharna and stuff
sorry.
unless you can do some dharna इससे तो कुछ होगा नहीं
No, create something like cryptocurrency. So government will also confuse what rule I should make. Create some NFT so that government is confused. What should I do? Make a chat GPT. The government is confused how to make the law for it. Right? Till the time government do understand, you'll earn in billions.
तो चैट जीपीटी जो है
Uh,
किसी सेंस से कुछ हार्म कर रहा है क्या मेरे हिसाब से
yes,
तो
yes, yes.
कैसे
Like all
किस
the
एंगल
content
से
writer job is over now. You don't require content writer. You just need to
तो
ask
सर
that.
एक एक टाइम पे जब संजय गांधी था उस टाइम पे बैंकिंग सिस्टम में कंप्यूटर इंट्रोड्यूस होता उस टाइम पे लोगों ने कंप्यूटर को
Same
अपोज
thing.
किया था कि हमारी जॉब्स
Same
चली
thing.
जाएंगी
Same thing.
तो
Same
वैसे
thing.
कस्टमर पर्सपेक्टिव से तो अच्छा ही
Yes.
है ना मतलब हर
Ah,
चीज का
yes.
सोल्यूशन इन वन क्लिक मिल गया
Yes. Yes. Very true. Very true. Future is of the person who has wisdom and knowledge.
हम्म, तो
How to
मतलब
use those
नेक्स्ट लेवल है
technology.
आई हैव सीन इन माय ऑफिस इन
Hmm.
डाउनटाउन टोरंटो
Hmm.
में
Hmm.
पार्टनर्स टॉकिंग अबाउट चैट जीपीटी
No, we
कि
are
हम
using
लोग
like every
जब
day and night we are
प्रपोजल्स
using.
हाँ प्रपोजल राइटिंग होती है क्लाइंट को अगर हम भेजना
Hmm.
होता है
Hmm.
तो दे आर स्टेटिंग कि हाँ प्रपोजल राइटिंग में आप चैट जीपीटी का यूज कर सकते हो
Yes.
ओपनली
Yes.
ऑफिस के अंदर सो
Yes. Yes. We are every day using for all blog writing, content writing. We are using every day. In fact, now I have started using in writing my own books as well.
हाँ सर बिल्कुल आपको
Why
पैराफ्रेज
not?
करके यार आपको बहुत चीजें इंफॉर्मेशन मिल जाती है वन क्लिक पे और वो भी विद फैक्ट्स
Yes. So we are using it almost now, like almost all staff of our team is using it.
ओके ओके
Hmm. So if it is saving time, why not?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
Right? Now,
गवर्नमेंट इज ट्राइंग टू इंट्रोड्यूस सम लॉज अराउंड इट
yes, like
कुछ ना कुछ
we have like Dr. Pawan Duggal, who came in our event. He has already written a book on a chat GPT law, which is under like the preview in 117 countries. So like we are making course and content on chat GPT law, cybercrime, cyber security under his guidance. He is
ओके
like
ओके
top 4 person in the world.
तो लॉ राइट करने के बाद इट हैज टू कम टू पार्लियामेंट राइट
Yes, 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 yes.
इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के लिए तो
Yes.
इम्प्लीमेंट
No,
होगा
no,
देन
there's a process to it. There's a process. One, like when you make certain, first thing is you ask like general people whether the this particular issue required any law or not. Then the public, it go in a public domain and public respond to it, yes or no, or maybe like they give their feedbacks to it. Based on that, like government evaluate that issue. And after evaluation of the issue, then the internal committee, which is like people like Pawan Dukal, they create some they make a rough draft. And that rough draft will again go back to the public for their evaluation as well as to the stakeholder who are being heavily impacted. And then government take their feedbacks, and then accordingly they do the modification and upgradation, and then it go to the different assembly for evaluation, and then finally it get into the law. So there's a
Oh,
process, long lengthy process.
so drafting चल रही है basically अभी.
No, drafting is done already.
Okay, okay.
And that is gone to 117 countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, coming back. Change in reporting entity. So this also we have discussed when holding when holding company accounting policy are different from subsidiary accounting policy, or change in accounting policy on account of merger or acquisition. For example, you are using written down value method of inventory and your subsidiary is using straight line. So you'll try to align that, right? Same way if you are using LIFO, they are using FIFO, you'll try to align them. Same way if you are using, let's say, you can say ASC 842 of the lease accounting, but your subsidiary is, let's say, in India and they are using accounting standard 19 for the lease accounting. So you'll try to align them. Right, so that alignment is called change in reporting entity, impact on account of change in reporting entity, and this impact is also being considered retrospectively in the consolidated financial statement as if that change was always there. Right, consider the cumulative impact in the opening balance, which is net of tax. Last one is error correction. So errors are unintentional mistakes, not an accounting change, but include the same characteristic different from change in estimate, because an estimate results from new information or subsequent development from leading to new or better insightful judgment, whereas change from an accounting principle not generally accepted used in earlier period by mistake or generally accepted accounting principle or mathematical mistake or incorrect classification, right? So prior year error identified in the current year, then you need to restate the prior year assets or liability and consider earlier impact on the opening retained balances. For example, like miss out depreciation on any assets and expense got capitalized in the earlier year. For example, like you have purchased a software which is being installed in your machinery, and for any reason that software you have expense of in the previous year, which ideally should have been capitalized. In the current year, when you are doing the audit and you have identified that software was mistakenly expense of, so now you need to restate the previous year financial statement. That means you'll be reducing the expense and increasing the asset base, and then the impact of depreciation on the new asset recognized. So it is considered as if it is originally there. Make sense? And make the correction and consider the impact before finalization of accounts. 1 and 3 require following additional disclosure: change in accounting principle and change in reporting entity, impact of change, and justification of change in accounting principle. Right? Any doubt on change, accounting change and error?
No, sir.
Yes, no?
No, sir.
No,
No,
so
sir.
clear.
So far, so good?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can take a break here. So it's 11:45. So we can come back at 12:15 and then we'll start with the new accounting standard. Or maybe, yeah. So we'll do like 2 questions and then we jump into the ASC 805. Right?
Okay.
Let's come back at 12:15.
Okay, so done.
Okay.